My Nether perimeter has been expanded to a new size of 417 by 417 blocks. The total volume of the expanded Nether perimeter from bedrock floor to bedrock ceiling is over 20 million cubic meters, enough to fit over 8,200 Olympic-sized swimming pools worth of water. If you could get the water in here, that is. Welcome everyone to World Update 14. I hope you all enjoyed the time-lapse, the first World Update time-lapse in 5K. And probably the last for a while. 5K is really pushing the limits of what my computer can handle, so back to 4K in the future. This time-lapse did present some challenges outside of the bump in resolution. For one, I wanted to use shaders and such, because I've been using shaders for, my more recent time-lapses as of late and such, and, well, you have another issue of, well, the Nether is a naturally dark place, and darkness and video compression mixed together in stuff like oil and water. And when it comes down to the shader side of things, well, a lot of shaders, while looking very cool and atmospheric in the Nether, really suffer from the issue of visibility, which is a real problem. People need to be able to see what's actually happening on screen. So I spent a couple of hours customizing the settings of the BSL Shaders pack to try and strike a balance between something that would be visually appealing and also be visible to you, the viewer. And I think I struck that balance, but you guys will have to let me know. So if you remember World Update 5, then you may remember that the inner portion of the Nether perimeter is 162 by 162. I've since changed that a little bit. That ends up the center be a 2x2 block center, and now I've changed the center of this perimeter to a 1 block center. And with the bottom area here, the new center area of the perimeter is 161 by 161. And then beyond the middle bedrock area that was broken, it extends out 128 blocks all the way around for a total perimeter size of 417 by 417. I did leave a thin layer of netherrack up here to use as scaffolding in the future for placing blocks up here. And when it comes down to the general use for this Nether perimeter, my plans haven't really changed from a function standpoint. So it is to serve as my Nether hub and as a place for all of my Nether farms, especially a Wither skeleton farm at some point. You may recall in the past that there was a time when I was considering just slabbing and replacing blocks in the Nether terrain with spawn-proofed blocks beyond and such the center area of the perimeter. But ultimately, as more time went on, I realized that was going to be a lot of work, and I think I'd rather just blow it up and have these wide open spaces instead. So that's ultimately what I went for. And in terms of aesthetics for this place, I don't have anything concrete right now, but I am getting a lot of inspiration from an area in Xenoblade Chronicles, the Central Factory. The thing that strikes me the most about the Central Factory is, beyond just the sheer scale of it, is just how animated the environment is. There is always something going on in the background. And I'd like to translate some of this concept of having an animated environment into Minecraft. Now, obviously, Minecraft has its own limitations, so can't, copy paste and do exactly as what's in this Central Factory. Nor would I really want to, because I'm not really looking to do any sort of recreation or imitation. I'm more so looking at it for inspiration. But, in Minecraft, I could do stuff like, say, have lava flow that flows down a path and then gets cut off and such, and then flows down another path. There are campfires, and I could, control the smoke and such with trapdoors and hay bales and such to control the height of the smoke. And, and there also is the obvious one of pistons. I could always use the pistons to move blocks around. Although sometimes pistons can, kind of create a situation where, blocks flicker and so forth. And, not necessarily ideal. And it could be tough on frame rates. So I may not actually use pistons that much. But yeah, I really want to try and make this environment come alive, and that's like the core inspiration and such for what I'd like to do for my Nether hub / perimeter area. Oh yeah, and by the way, I did also save the blaze spawners from my Nether fortress here, so they're encased in obsidian boxes right there. So if I want to make a dual blaze spawner farm in the future, I can. Although I probably will never get around to it. I don't know. And another thing with this place is I'd like to avoid symmetry. I'm not gonna say like, oh, there won't be any symmetry whatsoever, as, you know, obvious things like, say, piston bolt tunnels, there's probably gonna be symmetry for those. But outside of that kind of stuff, I really don't want there to be a high degree of symmetry. I'd like it to be that, you know, if you're looking into that one wall, and then you look at another wall, and you look at another wall, and you look at another wall of this place, wherever you look, it's distinct and such. It's not just the same ends of pattern and shapes copy-pasted over and over again. So, yeah. Anyways, that's the ideas I have for now. Don't know you know, how those ideas will change in the future, and it will be a while before I start breaking ground on this project because, well, base tower and sword system project take priority right now. So once those are done and out of the way, this will probably be the next mega project. You may have noticed that despite this perimeter not being fully spawn-proofed yet, there are no mobs spawning around here, and that's because I have a quick and dirty mob switch running right now. So if we go into spectator and then teleport to receive bot, and to 1k north here in the Nether and such, he's just up here on this platform with this ring around him, and basically pigmen and within this area can spawn, are close, you know, so the player's far enough away from them that they can spawn, but the player's also close enough to them that they can't despawn. And this is the same quick and dirty mob switch that I made for World Update 9 and such in the end when I needed to collect shulkers for my overworld shulker mob switch, so that way I could stop the endermen from spawning. But yeah, very, very simple and quick to build. In the future, I do plan to probably make a shulker based Nether mob switch. With the new ends of shulker farming mechanics coming in 1.17, it should be pretty trivial to, like, once I got that farm set up, just use it to supply me with shulkers to make a Nether based shulker mob switch. So, about that bedrock breaking. The last time I had broken bedrock was using Dragon Egg bedrock breaking in 1.12. And now that I've experienced into this form of bedrock breaking in, you know, 1.16, you know, obviously Dragon Egg bedrock breaking I'd say was easier and such, certainly, but into that compact freeway bedrock breaking machine is an absolute marvel of slimestone engineering, and honestly, it would be impossible for me to broken all of this bedrock if it wasn't for that machine. So yeah, I guess like the only complaints I have is like the machine is kind of difficult to understand how you should set it up in order to get the advertised 23 blocks of overhead. But you know, after spending a few admittedly frustrating hours figuring that out, and so it ultimately did work, and it works really reliably. Like, I did not have any issues with the machine borking itself. So long as you build it correctly, it just works, and that's the beautiful thing about it. It does, however, of course, consume a lot of pistons. In total, and for breaking all this bedrock, I ended up breaking into a little over 85,000 bedrock. And the cost of doing that? A little over 127,000 pistons. Wow, that's a lot of pistons. A lot of resources to craft those pistons. And with that many pistons, you run into the logistical issue of, well, how do you craft that many pistons? With a crafting system, of course. It would be at this point in the episode that I'd tell you to go ahead and watch my previous video on a further iteration of this crafting system to see what it's all about, but that video doesn't exist. Unfortunately, I've had some issues with finalizing a crafting system design and such, so yeah, I don't know when or if that video will come, but maybe it will. Anyways, this is a generalized crafting system right here. So we have 9 sets of chests and such for corresponding to each of the for each of the 9 items and such you have in your crafting grid. And it does things in batches of 9 shulker boxes. So we put in 9 shulker boxes of each material for each slot all across these and such. Flip the switch, the player would get fed the items here and such, and of course craft them and throw them into the water stream down here, where they then go into the shulker box loaders, and then those shulker boxes are then sent up over into here, into this storage. This crafting system is capable of feeding me roughly about 1.45 million items per hour, and about which I can craft those into my desired item into at a rate of 162,000 items per hour. So definitely very helpful for crafting all those pistons. In fact, if we look at our items crafted stat times crafted, 200,000 pistons crafted. So yeah, a lot of pistons. It would have been very difficult and very time consuming to craft all those without a system like this. So already this thing has really paid itself off into further time and I've invested in building it. And I will say that this is a temporary crafting system. I do plan to tear it down in the future, like once Sword System project is done, because at that point until I want to build a better one that's more lag efficient and more permanent and such, because as you can see, this one's just kind of haphazardly into the built here and such. Anyways, everyone, that's all I got to talk about this episode. If you have enjoyed and stuff, I'd very much appreciate it if you could leave the video a like. So until next time, I'll catch y'all later. Bye.